Hello friends and neighbors, welcome to Living Beautifully, where we are cultivating something good in our lives and in the lives of those around us. Today we're doing a little impromptu garden tour. I do have some updates for you guys, and I am happy to say that the harvests are finally starting to roll in. So hope you join me today for our garden tour. Today, I'm doing a little bit of an impromptu garden tour. I wasn't really planning on doing one, but I do have some updates for you guys. It is super windy out here. I hope that it does not affect the sound quality too much, and I hope that we'll still actually be able to see the plants. We'll see how this goes. So our kale is doing pretty good, and then our cilantro that I planted at the same time is kind of being pretty slow to take off, but it is a little bit warmer than it likes, so that may be something that I have to just replant in the fall. And then as far as our determinate tomatoes, those are continuing to do well. I anticipate that it will not be too long before our tomatoes that are all in this jungle, I mean, they're all up in there. I don't think it'll be too long before those start ripening. Our potatoes are in the process of their natural dying off, and that's what happens right before they're actually ready to harvest. And I was going back and looking at my estimated time for harvesting these just to make sure, like, is this natural die off or is this a disease? And I was anticipating that I would harvest these sometime early June. So I think that this is right on schedule for just the natural die off process that they have, letting me know that it is ready, that they are ready to be harvested. So that will be exciting. Then we have our sweet potatoes, and I believe I planted these with our last video, and so they are starting to take root. You can tell because, like, when I first planted them, they were all kind of really purple and showing signs that they were a little stressed. I think I kept them in the cups to root maybe a little bit too long, but now they've greened up and they're starting to grow out, so that is good. I'm gonna, of note, these garden hoops, this was my first season using these, and I think I'm gonna have to come up with an alternative, because as the temperatures have heated up, these have started breaking right at the joint where they meet these little metal connectors. So I don't know if they're quite as stable for my environment as I would like. So I'm gonna have to think of some alternatives for that. And I think that the garden is just looking so pretty right now. Just give you guys a little overview. I'm loving all the colors from the flowers. That sunflower is getting humongous. I'm so excited to see when it blooms. But anyway, back to the tour. Our onions in this bed are starting to bulb up nicely. There's a couple of them that are getting to be a pretty good size, and those should be ready to harvest pretty soon. Our peppers are peppering. They're putting on some pepper pods. I have already harvested a couple of my bell peppers that have sized up pretty nicely. This one has a couple of bell peppers that are in the process of growing. Then you can see a pretty good size red onion right there. So that's bulbing up nice. We'll be excited to harvest that. Here's some more bell peppers. You can see right there. So those are all doing well. Then we have our next tomato bed, and my tomatoes are all starting to ripen. I'll put a little clip of me of some harvest that I did of those, but you can see there are some of them that are starting to blush, and that's just when they go from their green color to whatever their final color is, whether that's red or yellow. The other thing that I will point out is you'll notice that some of the top flowers, so like this branch right here, all of these little points, those were flowers that this plant dropped. We've had some high temperatures, and a lot of times pollen is rendered sterile when the temperatures are above 95. And so a lot of these flowers were not properly pollinated, and so then they dropped off. And you'll see that a lot as the season goes on with your tomato plants. Our temperatures are going to be a little bit lower this week, and so maybe some of the newer flowers, like those are some newer flowers up there, those may have a chance to be pollinated. But it's not uncommon once the temperatures get high for your tomato plants to have trouble pollinating themselves. And we have our marigolds that are starting to bloom. Those are looking pretty. Our basil's doing good right there. We have one of our Brandy Boy tomatoes that is starting to blush. Let's see if we can get you a look right there. There we go. So that is very close to being ready. As a matter of fact, I will probably harvest that today. Once your tomatoes start turning colors, they have received all of the nutrients that they need from the actual plant. And you can cut them off and let them continue to ripen inside. The benefits of doing that is it decreases the risk of them splitting, which is what happens when they take in too much water, let's say with like a big rain or something like that. And then it also decreases the risk of them having some type of damage from a bug or something like that. And you can see in here, our celery is continuing to grow its stalks, and even just reaching in here with my hand, I can just feel that it's much cooler in the middle of this bed with the shade of the tomatoes. And so I think that this may have worked out pretty well, because I'm pretty sure that the celery probably would have bolted already if it hadn't have been for this method that I tried. So that may be something that I continue to do in the future. But yeah, I think we are in store for a nice little tomato harvest. So I'm excited, and I think I already said this, but I've already harvested a good bit of tomatoes that I will put in a little picture for you guys. Let's take a pause and take a look at our little flower garden. Which I love the little pops of magenta and purple that have popped up. I think that purple flower is larkspur. And then our other tomato bed, it's really the same thing. We've got tomatoes here that are starting to turn colors that I can probably harvest today. Overall, we have several different fruits that are in the process of ripening. And then the same thing with these tomatoes. You can see that a lot of the flowers up top, see like all those flowers, that plant is going to drop those. So if they aren't properly pollinated, then the plant will drop them. Here's our little basil. It's doing good. Has a little bit of either sunburn or leaf rust. And then we've got some cherry tomatoes that are ripening. So everything's doing good here. Now let's move on to our cantaloupe bed. So this is a little jungle. First of all, let's address the elephant in the room. Literal elephant. Like, this thing is feet above me. Literal feet above me. And I still haven't seen any signs of like the actual flower head. Like, I'm going to hold the camera up high so you guys can maybe see the top. But like, when is this thing going to flower? It's humongous. But anyway, so this bed has beans and cantaloupe and basil and some herbs. And you can see the cantaloupe is starting to vine out and it's looking good. I have not seen a whole lot of female flowers from it quite yet. And I definitely haven't seen any that have been pollinated, but I am keeping an eye out. And if I see, a female flower, then sometimes I will hand pollinate, where basically I just take a little paintbrush and you just rub the pollen from the male flower, then you rub the female flower, and that can help to increase your chances of good pollination. So hopefully at some point we'll get the start of a cantaloupe. And then our pole beans are growing up our trellis. They're starting to take off and looking really good. Haven't seen any beans yet. Oh, there's the start of a little bean. Let's see if you can see that. There's a little bean. And then up there, that's a little bean. So we are close to starting to get some green beans. Then we have our squash bed. This has been giving me a little bit of blues. I've been having to come out and pick squash vine borer eggs literally constantly. Thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't lost a plant to it yet, but it has definitely been a struggle. I have put out these bottles that I have filled with mothballs and water. I don't know if y'all can see that. They've got mothballs at the bottom, and that scent is supposed to deter the squash vine borer. And I will say, I have seen less eggs, not zero, but less eggs since I've put that out. I've still had to come pretty much almost daily to check these to make sure that they are free of any eggs. What happens with the squash vine borer is basically it places its eggs right on the stem of the plant, and then once the egg hatches, it burrows into the vine of the plant and basically eats out the core of the plant and kills it. So we don't want that to happen because we want some more of these little beauties. These are our first summer squash of the season. It looks like both of them got pollinated well, so I'm excited about that. So that will be our first little zucchini squash harvest. And then we also have a couple of yellow squash, if you can see in there, that are starting to mature. And then also a gray squash. It's very immature. I'm not even sure if it's pollinated yet, if you guys can see. There we go. So hopefully that gets pollinated too. But overall, squash bed's doing fine. This bed is basically the same as the cantaloupe bed, although I have considered taking out some of these beans because, I don't know, I feel like there are so many more beans in this bed. They're almost trying to choke out the watermelon. I feel like they're doing okay, but I don't know if it's too much. But we are also starting to get some beans on these. I saw some earlier. I think it was on this side. Yeah. There's a little baby bean. And there's a baby bean. So those are starting to produce some beans. I have not even seen the watermelon plants even flower at all, which again was another reason why I was thinking maybe I need to pull some of these bean plants Do they have a little bit more room? I don't know. Here's our corn bed, and the corn is doing well. This little stalk suffered from our storms. It kind of blew over, fell over. A lot of times the corn will help support each other in a storm. In addition to the benefits of the pollination, that can be another benefit of planting them all together. But that was a little casualty that we had. But overall, corn seems to be doing well. It is starting to have its little tassels that forms the pollen that the cobs need. I have not seen any formation of any cobs, or ears rather, but we will keep an eye out for that. And then our winter squash that we have in here is starting to flower. I think that both of these are male. Yeah, those are both male flowers. You can tell because there is no fruit or the shape of a fruit at the base of those. So it will probably need to get a little bit more mature before it starts putting on female flowers. Here's some more pole beans and some more baby green beans that are forming. So those are starting to grow up the trellis. Here's our other corn bed. And we've got some cayenne peppers that are forming on here. This jalapeno plant has been much slower to get going, but I think it is finally starting to grow. And then some more pole beans, and then some more corn. Again, a lot of this section of the bed, as you all know from our last tour, was just a little bit smaller and less developed. And so, again, it suffered a little bit more from our storms. I mean, there were tornadoes reported in the area. I mean, we had pretty bad storms this last week. And so a lot of times these will kind of correct themselves and come back up. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what they do before I try to intervene. And then our squash plant that's in here is doing well. It looks like it's about to start putting off some flowers. And if you can see, it's actually putting on female flowers. So that is a female flower because you can see the shape of the fruit at the base. It's not just a stem. I actually don't see any male flowers. We have the opposite problem with this plant. It's got all females, no males. You need both for fruiting. But I'm excited to see that. And our last bed is kind of sad. Oh, I hate to end on a sad note, but I want to be honest with you guys. So I told y'all at the beginning of the season with one of my shorts that I noticed a fungal disease on my strawberry plants. And I tried to get on top of it pretty quickly. I sprayed it with some copper fungicide. I followed that up probably a little bit later than I should have. I think I followed it up like 2 weeks later. I probably should have done it a week later. But I think that I caught it too late. And I'm probably going to have to pull all of these plants. I think that I just got it from, I don't want to say a bad nursery, but I think that the bare roots that I got were probably just already diseased when I purchased them, especially just based off of how quickly, like it was right at the beginning of the season that I first noticed that these were starting to have signs of disease. And you can see, you know, with all the leaves, I mean, it's just everywhere. It's on almost every single plant. A couple of the plants right on the edge are still seem healthy. But yeah, I think that it's going to be a wash for strawberries this season. So I'll probably at some point pull these, and then next year when I get, or maybe even in the fall, when I get my bare roots, I'm going to make sure that I'm getting it from a reputable source. Our blackberry plants are doing well. I pulled most of the flowers because I wanted them to focus on establishing their roots this season, but I did leave a few blackberries on there, so we'll be able to taste those. And then we also have a few blueberries from here. This blueberry plant is not doing as well. It's not dead, it's also not quite alive. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. Same thing with this blackberry plant. So this was a very, very small seedling, and I maybe should have waited until it was a little bit more mature to plant it, but we'll see how that continues to do. And then this other blueberry plant doesn't have any flowers or fruits, but seems to be doing well. So overall, other than the strawberries, the berry patch is doing pretty good. Well, and that is really all of the updates that I have. We will continue with our Starting Your Own Garden series with our next video, and it is going to be on seed starting. So we're going to be talking about different ways to start seeds and preparing. At this point, you would mostly be preparing for like a fall garden if you wanted to start seeds on your own. It isn't too late to start with some warmer weather crops if you get started, but we will get into that in more detail with our actual video. So you guys stay tuned. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And remember, even if you can't grow something in the ground, you can always cultivate something good in your life and in the lives of those around you. Take care, guys.